Hello and welcome to Seismic Cinema. Grab your avatars and put your feet up on Conchu's big bird skull because we are reviewing Moon Knight Season 1. And I am joined by Hippo, aka Colin.
Hippo,
How's it going, bud?
fine. Just have to get it out of the way. I'd just like to say well done to Rangers for getting into the Europa League final.
Jesus, you didn't even give it 2 seconds before you checked the goal.
Just had to do it. Has there been a season 2 confirmed, or are you just saying season 1 for the sake of it?
Oh, I'm assuming the way they ended it on the final episode that it must be going to Season 2, surely.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Excuse
Cool.
me. But yeah, so basically we're going to do just a very basic review of the season, just going over kind of things we liked and disliked about it, and any general thoughts that we had. So yeah, Colin, do you want to start us off with it? Any of your kind of overall thoughts on it you liked so far?
I was just about to.
Oh, sorry, I think you're freezing a wee bit on my screen.
Really? I'm okay now?
Yeah, you're okay now.
Good. All I'm going to say is Oscar Isaac. What a performance.
Which one?
All of them. Nah, do you not think? I think he should be up for some kind of award for that. Like the way he portrayed the two different characters, Mark and Stephen, I thought was outstanding, and you could genuinely tell the difference most of the time between the two.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's such a it's such a kind of curveball from the like typical MCU kind of series. So it was quite refreshing, but at the same time, I found it quite bizarre trying to keep up with times. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's worth mentioning. Like, I don't know about you, but I've never read any of the comics or anything about Moon Knight. I went into this series totally blind without knowing anything really about it. Are you probably the same?
I'd never even heard of Moon Knight, I'll be honest, before the show got announced.
Psst, me neither.
But sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, because it gets you away from the kind of mainstream and exploring more of the MCU. But yeah, I quite enjoyed just the kind of freshness, the feel of the series.
Yeah. It was one of those weird ones for me. Like, I enjoyed watching it when I was watching it, but I didn't ever feel like I was absolutely desperate to know what was next. See, when I watched like One Division, for example, I don't know if it's because it was during the first lockdown, but I was just absolutely desperate to know what was coming next. So yeah, I enjoyed it when I watched it, but I wasn't like on my edge of my seat needing to know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like it was it was gripping, but it wasn't so much so that you were like,
Yeah.
because like I kind of started off that way. I was like, I want to know what happens next, episode, and then I got kind of halfway through it, and I was like, you know what, I'll catch up with it. I'm not really that fussed to know what's happening with it.
Because you know what I'm like with like the Star Wars Disney Plus shows, for example. I need to watch them that day. Whereas this, I was watching it on like Friday nights or Saturday nights, or two on a Tuesday night, like I did last night.
Yeah. Oh, you know me, like I do, leave things to the last minute. End up binging 3 episodes last night, and I started at 11:30, and finished about 2:30.
I quite enjoyed that though. I think it works better consecutively rather than just watching it week by week.
Yeah.
Gets you a bit more invested.
So, who was your favourite? Was it Mark or Stephen?
I'd say probably Stephen.
Yeah, he was the comedy relief.
I liked his kind of childhood wonder. So yeah, you were saying earlier. I think I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I felt the third episode when it started getting a wee bit more kind of traditional MCU. That was probably my least favorite.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one kind of drew me back in. But the fifth episode, so the second last one, was, I would say, the best one. I thought that was like really intense. That's the one I messaged you last night when I was watching it.
Yeah, it was just the second half of the season just gets really trippy, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like that though. I thought that was the more interesting aspect. See, if I'm being honest, I wasn't really that interested in the whole kind of Egyptian god side of it. I preferred just the kind of psychological drama of like the different personalities. I thought that was a lot more interesting than the actual god aspect.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to find out what's like. So in like MCU, you've got like the Celestials, you've got Egyptian gods now, and you've got all these different. You've got like Thor as a god, and it's like who's more powerful than who? Like, what does God actually mean? Just so many. There's so many questions to it, and I'm not sure. I was watching the last 3 episodes last night, and I feel like my brain is still melted trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, I still don't really know if it's in his head or it actually happened. Is that how you feel?
Towards the end, like they kept skipping back to like the psychologist thing, and I was like, but surely not, because then that means none of this happened.
So
But
it's either, I think there's three options. All the stuff really happened. No, there's not three options. There's two options. Either he is just crazy and it is all in his head, or it all happened and the psychic bit is like a cover up.
I think the psychiatry bit, I don't know if his like just when he goes a bit mental, that's his kind of way of coping. I don't know, like a kind of safe space.
Yeah, that episode was quite brutal in the sense of you found out that his mother was beating him and they created the persona of Stephen to give him that kind of safe place. So it
Yeah,
got, it got quite it got quite dark and a bit depressing, but it was a
yeah.
very gripping episode, that one.
And his mum died, and Stephen's still talking to her on the phone and stuff, but she's not actually there.
Yeah, because that happened at the very start of the first episode. Remember, he tried to phone his mum.
Yeah, and she didn't answer or something. I was like, oh yeah, I'll
Very-
catch you later. I'll catch you later.
I think we talk about rewatchability as a big part. I think this show has that notion for rewatchability. It's probably something I'd be quite keen to rewatch because you probably pick up a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I need to go back and watch it again just to try
Understand it.
and check. Like, there was one point me and Scarlett were just looking at each other, going, "What is going on here? Like, is this just all made up?"
And having that week gap between the episodes, I felt it did make it more difficult to work out
Follow.
what was happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did like when they were showing the different Mark and Steven, and he was seeing them in the reflections and like mirrors and water and all the different aspects.
yeah, yeah. It was it was a bit confusing at times because I was
Yeah,
like at the very start, I was like, how is he managing to lead like double lives kind of things at the same time? Like, so I thought Mark only came alive when Steven slept, and
yeah.
then I was like, surely if that's happening, his body would just completely just go.
It just became a very convenient plot device where he kind of did that face like, and then
Yeah,
he transferred. I thought the
that
humor
was
was
it.
quite. I thought the humor was quite good at times.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was quite.
Um,
I thought it was quite funny at times.
Oscar Isaac's English, isn't he, in real life?
Pass.
I think he is. Um, but yeah, the humor was quite zany, like a bit out there. I think some of it came across a bit cheesy, but I think it worked.
Yeah,
I feel like it worked.
I think Stephen had that kind of side of the humor.
Yeah. Although I didn't like his Moon Knight version.
Yeah, with the suit.
Yeah, I felt that was just weird, and even his humor when he was doing that, I thought it came across like really cheesy.
Did you feel sometimes because I know we're going to do these reviews, I sometimes think about it from your perspective. Did you feel it maybe lacked a bit of action at times?
The first few episodes, yeah, and even that, like when he was doing that kind of face, like
Yeah.
that, and then it would be like, oh, stuff's happened. He's covered in blood, but we never actually seen it.
You do see bits of it in later episodes, I suppose.
Bits and pieces, but I felt like a lot of the action was more. It was more leaving it to your imagination rather than showing it to you. But
I think that was on purpose though, because you had to kind of wonder what was happening.
yeah, I
It was
know.
all put together.
But it just seemed like in the tomb with the clicky click zombies.
Yeah,
Um, like obviously you don't see anyone for ages. There's bullets everywhere. There's blood everywhere, and then you're hearing gunshots and things in the background.
yeah,
But I would maybe like to seen some of the action that went on rather than just showing it to you. But I think that was just to build the atmosphere. But
yeah.
I'd have rather enjoyed seeing maybe a wee snippet of the uh, Amit followers
Yeah.
fighting with the zombies.
As his origin story, I suppose, this season, so you might see more action in future
Yeah.
seasons. Or do you think he'll make an appearance in, I would assume, in movies at some point?
Well, you'd have to imagine Oscar Isaac being the kind of actor he is that he
Yeah.
should get a big screen appearance at some point.
Because although obviously he's been in Star Wars, he's been in X Men, etc., this is probably his big launchpad career wise.
You think?
Well, t- from like he was like here, but I think being a lead in his own show will
Mm,
probably be kind of one of his biggest roles.
yeah. We've seen
Do you
like
not,
I think he was a producer in that as well in this.
yeah. Do you not think there wasn't enough of Moon Knight as in the costume? I know like that's been done in things like Batman and Iron Man movies where you don't see them a lot in their costume, but I don't feel like there was a lot across the 6 episodes of him in the suit or in the costume.
Yeah, not really. And even when he wasn't really showing off his abilities.
Yeah.
It just comes across as somebody that he's pretty agile.
Uh,
He flew a couple of times and he just had those wee kind of moon kind of batarangs.
oh, we're
Um,
not we're not saying kinda anymore, and you just said it twice.
sorry, it's just kind of the thing I do.
Something
Um,
we're kind of conscious about is that we say kind of a lot.
um, so what was I saying? Yeah, even did see in one of the episodes. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was when Layla turns up. I felt like the CGI was pretty bad on the suit. It was when he was like running across the rooftops, getting chased by the wolf or the jackal. The jackal.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that mentioned before. I really liked in the finale episode was when Moon Knight was fighting in front of the moon. It was a really nice shot.
Yeah, there was a lot. See the landscapes itself, and a lot of the scenery, and the settings. They were really beautiful.
I wasn't a big fan of, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of animal versions of the gods. I thought Khonshu took you out of it a bit. Do you not think he just looked a bit weird? And it was kind of weird that he was just kind of like hanging about.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there telling them people what to do.
It's weird that they've got these avatars, but they've also got a physical form. So it's like, why do they really need the avatars? Or is it only the avatars that can see them?
No, I think everyone. Actually, I don't know how it works because I'd imagine everyone could see the big kind of Power Ranger fight at the end with the
Yeah,
massive Khonshu and Amit fighting the
yeah.
pyramids.
I wasn't a fan of Amit's. They built her up to be like this really impressive god, and it's like a big lizard. I don't know. The animal.
Was it
I
not
don't
an
know if
alligator?
that's. I don't know if that's just something from Egyptian culture, but the kind of animal representations just didn't work for me.
Even though you're a hippo.
Yeah, but that hippo. See when they introduced the hippo at the end of the fourth episode, I was like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah,
That's a great scene though in the psychic because it just kind of flips everything and it's like in One Division, spoilers for One Division, where they find out it's not like a real uh, neighborhood. Well, obviously we know that right away, but when like Vision starts to work out that it's not real, so that bit in the psych ward, I really liked. See when they were in like the ward and things like that, where they showed and the kind of flashbacks, it showed like toys that looked like some of the characters, and there was all these kind of, I just said kind of as well. There was all those hints towards like maybe this is where they got the or he got the idea for these different personalities and this world from.
Yeah, because they had like Donna from the museum. She was like a patient there, and they
Yeah.
had Layla as a patient there. I'm sure they had somebody else as a patient. Harrow was obviously the doctor. By the way, that when you mentioned like Ethan Hawke,
Yeah.
he played a really really good religious nut bad guy
From the Purge.
from The Purge. Yeah, I was really surprised. I didn't realize he was in it until I watched it,
Who
and I
else
thought he
is,
did it really well.
apart from him and Oscar Isaac, I can't even think who else is in it really. That's well known.
I don't even know. I don't even think the. Well, actually, no. The voice actor that does Khonshu, he's been in a few movies. Have you ever seen 13 Ghosts? No.
No, I looked up who did the voice of Khonshu actually because he sounded a wee bit like Darth Vader in a weird way,
Right. Okay.
and I wondered if it was James Earl Jones, but it wasn't.
No, can't remember what his name was, but yeah, he's in 13 Ghosts. He's the bad guy in that. But anyway, I digress.
So what else? I'm just trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning.
I thought Harrow. I felt like he got knocked off pretty cheap at the end.
I just didn't really understand these motivations. Like he'd obviously been an avatar for Khonshu before, and he must have got done dirty because he just seemed to want to just murder loads of folk. Like towards the end of like the season, like there was all the purple light went up anytime they sort of killed someone off.
Yeah.
I just don't really feel like he had a clear like motivation for what he was doing.
Well, I thought it was because he wanted to stop crime from. I think he believed in the vision of Amit about like stopping crime before it happened by punishing people um, before they did it, kind of thing. Kind of.
Yeah. I really like the whole split personalities and the kind of trippiness aspect and not knowing what's going on, but I didn't feel like the overall plot of the show was that great. Is that how you feel, or do you feel like it was good?
I did think it was a bit messy at times. It just seemed to be like kind of a lot hopping about whilst not really doing a lot.
Mm.
And things like when like Khonshu like shifts the night sky to.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming everybody in the world can see that, right?
I'm not sure.
So like all these things this show must have like loads of ramifications for like the Avengers and things like that, because like surely they're not just going to mention that the night sky moved back 1500 years or whatever it was, and nobody said a thing, or
Yeah,
that Khonshu made an eclipse happen randomly in the middle of the day. So all these kind of supernatural things, and it's not going to be mentioned anywhere else.
yeah, but it probably will have some kind of knock-on effect.
Well, I'd hope so. But it just
Yeah.
it just seemed like a lot for not a lot of gain, kind of thing. Like, because so they moved the night sky just so they could get coordinates for a sarcophagus.
Do you know what it reminded me of? The aspect of Rise of Skywalker that you don't like, where they have to find one thing and then get to the next one. I felt episode 3 was very like kind of paint by numbers and trying to like get all the pieces together to help you find what you want.
Oh yeah, was that the one where you had to fold the bits of paper together and stuff like that?
And they went on like a boat trip to meet this guy, and then there was the bit with the paper. So I don't know. I feel like I quite enjoyed the first and second episodes, The third one I didn't think was great, and I kind of lost a bit of interest. The fourth one piqued my interest, particularly towards the end at the psych hospital. The fifth one was really, really good, and I thought the finale was a bit disappointing because it went from the whole psychological and looking at his childhood and why he created these personalities to protect himself so he didn't have to experience reality. And then the last one was just a wee bit more kind of MCU, like big animals fighting each other.
Yeah, as soon as I seen that, I was saying to Scott, I was like, God, this is like watching the Power Rangers all over again. Like a couple of Megazords in the background just fighting.
Yeah, I got a bit sleepy towards the end of the last episode because I'd watched the two back to back. I actually didn't see the
The end credits.
mid-credit scene at the time. Then I watched a review and I heard there was one, so I watched it. So, like, there's another version.
Yeah, third personality.
Yeah, in a taxi, and then he shoots
Harrow.
Yeah. Harrow. Yeah. So I think there was a bit. See when was it? What's the overall god called? Amit.
Amit, yeah.
Did they not say like there's Stephen, there's Mark, and then whoever else is in there or something like that?
Something like I know what you're talking about. I vaguely remember something mentioned.
Yeah, it was quite cool. It was a bit of like an Indiana Jones vibe, seeing like all the kind of the pyramids and
yeah,
the tombs and things like that.
Yeah, the bit I actually enjoyed was the bit where they're kind of like doing a bit of tomb raiding for Alexander the Great's tomb.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Was that episode 4?
I think so. When he gets shot.
Yeah.
So I like that. Obviously with the clicky click zombies. But there's something I was going to say as well. I obviously when like Mark blacks out and Harrow, like him and Harrow were just facing off, and then the next minute he blacks out and he's got Harrow subdued. Like I thought that was a really kind of cheap way of finishing that battle because I was expecting something pretty epic to happen, and then it's just like 2 seconds and Ethan Hawke's knocked out.
So if we go back to episode 5, what did you make of the reveal that he'd invented Stephen as a way of protecting himself? Is that what you expected, or was that quite new to you?
I thought it was really clever. At the time, I didn't really know what to think. I actually thought that Stephen was going to be his little brother's personality that died.
Right, okay. That bit was quite creepy, wasn't it? When there was a room full of people that he killed and then there was just a wee kid hanging about.
Yeah, and then he followed them up into the waterfall, or not the waterfall, the gorge kind of thing.
Yeah. So,
by the way, see that gorge thing that he's like crawling through and it's on the water? That absolutely fills me with dread. It's called caving, isn't it? See, like people do that and like squeeze through all these tiny gaps to reach all these different tunnels and things. That is my worst fear.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of water or tight spaces. You just froze for a second there doing a karate chop action.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot to discuss there. I thought that episode just was really good, and seeing him like being in like the same space as his younger self and viewing it and like trying to stop things from happening and like what happened in that room I want to see, because obviously Stephen had been so shielded, and I think people that have maybe been through really traumatic situations in their life will really be able to emphasize with this show.
Did you mean empathize?
What did I say?
Emphasize.
Oh. I was just emphasizing the empathy.
Yeah, I get what you mean. No, I think it was really cleverly done, and I really it kind of turned it from your kind of like run of the mill kind of MCU action series into something quite deeper.
Yeah, it was definitely a show that made you think and you had to pay attention.
Yeah, it did get quite emotional, like you're saying. Because that'd be the worst thing in the world. Imagine it getting so bad that you have to invent another personality to kind of take up the slack.
Yeah, and he kept saying like that's not my mum, and then he obviously thought he convinced himself, Stephen had convinced himself that his mum was alive and she wasn't, things like that. It was really a bit interesting the way they filmed it because they kept showing like part of a scene. Like they showed him standing next to the car with the booze, remember?
Yeah, but you couldn't really see it.
And you didn't know the context. I thought he'd maybe just had a drinking problem. I didn't realise that was like the funeral.
I didn't even see him drinking. I just seen him standing by the car, and I didn't realize it was him.
You could see he was holding a bottle or like a bag with a bottle.
I say it's getting worse.
Yeah, so it was really dark, quite depressing episode, but it was the best episode out of the 6 for me.
Yeah. No, I did. I just found it really fascinating when it first started all that because obviously you're thinking like, oh, is this just all in his head?
I still don't know. I still honestly don't know whether it is in his head or not. Which I don't know if that was the intention or whether I just wasn't picking up things right.
There's probably people listening to this going, "Oh man, these pair are absolute biddies," and having it's so simple. It's so simple.
If you truly understand what happened, then please comment and let us know.
Yes, because we wish to be enlightened.
Right. Well, seems like a good moment to give our ratings of the show. So it's a wee bit different given the ratings of a show, but out of 10, I've got I did have a score in my head, but as we've discussed it, I don't know if that's I'm going to move it slightly, but not too much. Have you got a number out of 10?
I do.
You want to go first, Tim?
Okay, I am. Excuse me. I'm going to go 6.5.
Okay.
I did like it, but there were just too many things that are a bit too much of a miss for me. Like I really liked the psychological kind of side of it. I liked Oscar Isaac playing Stephen and Mark. But I just thought the CGI at times was a bit janky. Like we were saying earlier on, we didn't really see Moon Knight a lot. Some of the humor was actually really quite funny, but some of it came across really cheesy too. The plot I thought was a bit messy, and how come Layla, when she becomes an avatar for the hippo, she turns into the Egyptian falcon.
Yeah, I didn't really get that bit either.
I was just like, she was moving the exact same way Falcon does, and like she's got wings like the Falcon. She's basically the Falcon.
Yeah.
Or Captain America, as we call him.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, 6.5 for me. I did like it, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't reaching for me. There's a lot of bits I was disappointed in.
I'm swithering. So what I'd upped it to was 7.5. It was originally at 7. So I'll just give my thoughts. As you said, Oscar Isaac was great. As you said, the kind of psychological aspects. I liked the way they kind of just changed it up. And then there was like the bit in the psych ward where it made you wonder what was real and what wasn't. I did like the Egyptian culture side of it, apart from the kind of animal gods. What's his face? Gave a really good performance, as you said. Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, yeah.
He's thinking Tony Hawk. And yeah, in terms of, as you said, the plot was a wee bit messy. It was quite difficult. You had to really think about who was speaking and who was in charge at certain points in time. One bit we didn't mention was that there was a point where Layla, I felt, was falling in love with Stephen and not Mark.
Yeah, well, they did kiss, didn't they?
Yeah, she seemed to get on a lot better with Stephen than Mark.
Yeah, because he's like an intellectual like herself.
Yeah. So I did enjoy it. As I said, when I watched it, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that I had to watch on the day. Like when Obi-Wan comes out in a few weeks, I'm sure we'll be watching that on the day.
Oh, I'll be watching that 3 times that day, and then
And yeah, so obviously for me, it's Star Wars, Marvel. Like
oh
I do enjoy Marvel, but I don't have the same
yeah,
emotional attachment to it as I do Star Wars. So yeah, I think 7.5. I think the acting was good. It was interesting. It got you thinking, but aspects of it, like the Egyptian gods and just the kind of confusing nature of it,
yeah.
maybe
I
stop
meant
it
to
from.
ask as well. Like so like Stephen's quite an intellectual, but you don't think he comes across like really smart for somebody that just kind of does like this as a hobby, like reads books and stuff, and
Yeah, but some people are like that. They know a lot, but maybe they just don't apply it in a professional sense.
yeah. And let's see some of the puzzles when they were explaining that. I was just kind of like, where did they get that from?
Yeah,
Like, when he's drawn the eye
yeah.
on the thing, like, where did they start drawing the eye from?
Plot conveniences.
Oh, my brain.
So time to do a wee bit of plugs. So you can find our lovely faces on YouTube. We've two to Colin. Check that out again. So make sure you subscribe and like our videos on YouTube if you haven't already. You can watch our recent ranking of the Star Wars movies to celebrate May the 4th, and we're currently recording this on Revenge of the 5th. You can also hear our audio podcast on Spotify, Good Pods, Audible, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and probably some more podcasts. I need to keep checking that you've not frozen. I think I'm getting that wee Wi-Fi signal tonight. There's obviously not a great connection between us.
Oh, right, okay. I was wondering because like when you're doing those plugs, you were kind of freezing a wee bit, like freeze
Yeah,
framing. But I could still hear you, but you're kind of going.
hopefully that doesn't impact. If people are watching and listening, let us know if that had any impact there. It's not something we came across before. In terms of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram under Seismic Cinema. So please follow us on all the different platforms, like, subscribe, and join in the conversation. So, Paul, before we clock off today, I have got the 5 quick-fire questions for you. Are you
I'm
ready
at it.
to? Are you ready to engage?
Ready to engage, sir.
This is the trick to see if I can read my writing. Right. What is your number one? What is your favorite weapon from our recent film, Saving Private Ryan? Is there a particular weapon or class of weapon?
I'd probably say the M1 Garand rifle. 2 seconds, you're kind of frozen a wee bit on my screen again.
Yeah, you've frozen as well.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
you're fine.
yeah, the M1 Garand. It's just a kind of iconic gun. Always makes that iconic ping when it runs out of bullets. Used to love playing it in the Medal of Honor games and stuff and all different World War II games. So M1 Garand.
Are you impressed I asked a question about weapons?
I did. I'd be even more
You're
impressed
not.
if you understood what I was talking about.
I didn't, but I'm sure other people will. Right, here's an interesting one for you. Number two. What's the very first movie you remember watching? Like, what's something just from your childhood you remember watching?
Oh God.
Or one of your earliest memories of cinema? Or just
uh,
anything you remember watching as a kid?
does Asterix and Obelix count?
What's that?
I don't know. Obviously, it was like the Pokemon movies and stuff.
I think it was the Pokemon movie, by the way.
Oh, hits you right in the feels, man. Right at the end. Oh, oh.
You should watch
Um,
that tonight. Do you want to review
can do it at some point, eh?
it? We can do whatever we want. It's our channel.
Did it not get remastered not long ago?
Don't know, but we're going off on one of those famous tangents.
Aye. And we can do a game review of all different colours. What was your top 10 Game Boy colours?
Stop it. Right, so are you going for the Pokemon movie as your choice then?
I'll go for that.
Cool. Number three. Right, so if say you had an idea for a movie, who is your lead actor, your director, and who's composing the music?
Jesus Christ. Right.
First actor, director, and composer that come to mind. Who are you going for?
Actor wise, I'd probably go Keanu Reeves
Because you look like him.
because I look like him, and like every interview I see of him, he just seems like the best kind of guy. Like he would just do anything for you, and I just feel like we could be best friends.
I have heard that he's quite wholesome.
Okay, so yeah, Keanu Reeves, just because he's a nice guy, and you know he's a pretty damn good actor too. Right, director wise,
Who's directing this film then with Keanu Reeves?
you know what? I've had quite a wee spell of Edgar Wright, so I'm going to say Edgar Wright because
You look like him as well. So who's your fuzzy haired musician then?
Excuse me.
The guy that does the music for The Mandalorian, pretty sure he's got long hair. Goodwick Goranson.
Is it not Ludwig?
That's what I said.
I said Goodwig.
I did.
Is he pals with Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito.
You know what? Yeah, I'll go him because he did a pretty good job for the Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, and the Mandalorian, and I think he's done like ones for like Tenet and stuff like that as well.
No. What does that say? I can't read that last one. Hold on, give me a second.
Goodness gracious.
What does that say? No idea. Right, I'll go to the other one first. That's quite an interesting one. What's your favourite podcast that we've ever done so far?
Of ours?
Yeah. Is there any particular one you really enjoyed or you thought was really good?
I quite liked our soundtrack one.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. It was a good laugh, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good laugh, and like we were just singing daft songs and that, and just having a good laugh, and you were getting cranky because we were singing that American Pie song.
What is it right here? It looks like most something. Best something. What does that say?
Hold up to the camera, let's read it.
Right, I'll make something else up then. Right, last question.
Pressure's on.
I can't read that.
Come on, Colin, you're a teacher, not a doctor.
Right. Okay, I've got a good one. If you or us were to do a spin-off or alternate podcast, what's something other than TV and film you would want to do a podcast on?
Other than TV and film? Probably sports. Probably football.
I'd be football as well. Should we do a spin-off football podcast?
Yeah. What do we call it?
Seismic soccer.
Seismic soccer. There we go. Sorted.
We should. We should actually do that. It'd be fun. Right. So I can't work out what that last thing said. So we'll just leave it at that. So in terms of, this is coming out on Monday. We reversed, just because of May the 4th, we reversed our ranking and our review. So the review of Moon Knight will come out on Monday, the 9th of May. And on Thursday, actually, we're doing reviews and rankings the opposite way around for a couple of weeks. So we're actually going to rank our top 10 favourite MCU movies. We're going to do all of the movies, but Paul rightly mentioned that would take far too long. So we're just going to do our top 10. And then we are trying to think of a classic movie to review. We're going to do Doctor Strange, but we're going to park that and we'll let you know more about that. So we're not quite sure what classic movie we want to do yet. So if you've made it this far into the podcast, please comment or send us a message and let us know what movie you want us to review. We're really happy that our Saving Private Ryan review got over 40 views on YouTube, which isn't a lot for Joe Rogan and the likes, but it means a lot to us.
I know. Poor souls. 40 of them clicking on us.
Oh, we just missed the 40-minute mark there, but we're just about done. Paul, we forgot to, in the Star Wars ranking podcast, to mention our slogan. So, do you want to remind everyone what it is?
Yep, it is the power of Egyptian gods.
And also escapism.
And also escapism.
Obviously, we mean it in a light-hearted way, but this show obviously showed the other side of escapism, where he created Stephen to overcome the issue with his halves. So I think that was a really strong message from the show. So we'll finish off there. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
In the psych ward.
Yes. Is it real or is it not real?
Who knows?